House of
Necrosis
is a mystery dungeon game that is visually inspired by PS1 horror games. My experience with mystery dungeon games are very limited. I played a lot of Pokemon Red Rescue Team back in the day, and by played a lot of, I mean I did the personality quiz over and over to see what Pokemon I would get. You know, come to think of it, I don't really see personality tests anymore or even hear anyone talk about them. We used to eat that shit up when I was a kid. Everyone wanted to know what Power Ranger they were, and God forbid, one of my friends was designated the Green Ranger and I wasn't. If that happened, I don't know, I probably wouldn't talk to them for a month. Luckily, I'm obviously the Green Ranger and I won't hear another fucking word about it. I swear to God, you guys, if you say otherwise, I won't make another video for another month.
When I move, you move.
Just like that.
When I move, you move.
Just like that.
When I move, you move.
Just stop hitting me! Combat in this game is turn-based, or active battle, or roguelike combat, or something. I don't really know what to call it. I want to say it's turn-based, but that would make those unfamiliar think of older Final Fantasy games or Pokemon. No, this is a more literal form of turn-based. It is actually, when you move, they move. Whether that be attacking, using an item in your inventory, or even just walking. When I move, you move. This ludicrous combat baffled me for a while. You are guaranteed to get hit, which goes against your instinct as a player, and even more so if you're a regular of survival horror, which this takes inspo from. Getting hit once or twice in a game like Resident Evil is dangerously bad, but in House of Necrosis, it just comes with the territory. To me, it just felt like I was doing something wrong, like I was trading my health for theirs. It made me wonder, am I supposed to be getting hit this much, or am I missing something? I would say it took about 45 minutes before it started to click with me. Once enemies started to telegraph certain attacks, and once I actually turned my brain on instead of just spamming attack, it all started to make sense. Yes, you are going to trade blows a lot, but you can offset this by picking your battles more wisely. Pick off certain enemies from further away, lure them closer by whiffing attacks or funneling them down a hall so you don't get surrounded. But most importantly, it comes down to effectively managing your resources. Maybe this game does actually take more inspo from survival horror than I thought. Ammo is scarce, making it a real game changer when you do have it. Health is plentiful, but with how often you take damage and your limited inventory, you can't rely on spam healing. A good amount of the items you pick up are a mystery to you until you use them on yourself or an enemy. I tested most of them out by throwing them at enemies, causing all kinds of different status effects, poisons, curses, and whatnots. The first time I got to the boss, I had a black liquid in my inventory. All those other liquids hurt the enemy, I thought to myself, so this black liquid is probably gonna fuck this boss up. I threw it at him and watched as it healed him 500 HP, and then I died. You know, I definitely wasn't happy when that happened, but I also wasn't mad either. I was just having fun at that point. That random, go fuck yourself attitude is why I love stuff like Binding of Isaac, and was a big factor in my enjoyment here. Getting random new gear and weapons, and not knowing what everything does, having to learn or relearn things over the course of multiple runs, keeps things feeling fresh. I completed my first run after about an hour and 15 minutes, and then continued to replay for another 2 hours. The demo consists of 5 floors and a boss, so it's relatively short once you get a grasp on things, but as a proof of concept, I'm sold. I don't know when the full game will come out, but when it does, I'll be there. In the meantime, I might check out some other mystery dungeon games. Oh, thank God. Have you ever wanted to drive around Silent Hill, listening to chill music and delivering beer to cute animals? In Easy Delivery Co., you do pretty much exactly that. Look at these jagged little PS1 style graphics, I love it. There are long stretches of back roads so thick with fog that all you can see is your truck and whatever trees cut through, making for a slightly somber mood as cool jazzy tunes lull you to a peaceful flow, eventually making your way into cozy little towns that are both quaint and a little unnerving. In shops, you have to manually pick up items and bring them to the counter to pay for them. And when you deal with packages, you have to place them in and out of the truck, and also open and close the tailgate. It's very tactile, and makes your actions feel a bit more deliberate than they really are. It's called Easy Delivery Co. for a reason. I like how the title is stylized in all lowercase to emphasize how laid back it really is. There's no timer, and no punishment for destroying cargo. Flip your truck and send packages flying, and they'll respawn nearby for you to pick up. Even if you die in a flaming crash, you'll just pop back to life. It's all very chill. More about the journey than the destination type shit. The demo is short, but gives you a good feel for what the full game will entail. Deliver packages and reactivate radio towers. Also, I just want to shout out this little homeless dog who gives you tips and objectives. He's a very good boy, and I love this little tune he hums. This survival horror demo starts off with a bang.
Phase 0.
Waking up in a hospital bed, this guy, named Guy, is surrounded by bio-freaks. Maybe zombies, maybe something worse. Is she hollow? That's an unnerving question. One that I can't wait to find out more about in the full game. You know, my hips don't lie, and neither do I. This is a seriously great demo. I even felt the need to write great demo at the end of my notes. It's got the staples. I feel like a broken record anytime I talk retro-inspired survival horror, fixed cameras, pre-renders, that good shit. Definitely PS1 Resident Evil inspired, but looks way cleaner. Closer to Dreamcast than PlayStation 1. Most indies that attempt this aesthetic try to keep in that realm of retro. Maybe some CRT filters, dithering, lower resolution. Phase 0 is clear as day, and more like it was developed on Dreamcast and remastered for Steam. It's a really good looking game. It's those little choices that set games like this apart from one another. Resident Evil clones have become a dime a dozen, but I would gladly pay a dozen dimes for clones this good. Well, I'd pay more than that, but you get what I mean. I thought this was a really fun idea. There's an MRI machine turned on in a room, and you learn how strong the magnetic field is when you walk by it, pulling your gun out of your hands. Knowing this, you can now easily deduce how you're meant to get this crank out of this unfortunate fella. Not a brain buster of a puzzle, but a super fun idea that takes advantage of the environment. It also becomes a little more unsettling once you go to pick up the crank and realize this guy is still breathing. There's a lot to appreciate from this 30-ish minute demo, but I do have a few minor nitpicks, mostly in its sound design. Enemies need some more oomph when they get hit. Some sort of squish or moan. Visually you can see them being hit, but it just doesn't have that sort of impact you'd expect. Same goes for when you get grabbed. Maybe have Guy let out a groan or something. Just punching it up a bit would add a great deal of feedback for the player. The only other thing I'm not entirely sold on is being able to walk and aim. To compensate for not being able to manually aim up and down, the main character auto-locks on enemies, meaning if an enemy is on the ground, waiting to jump the player, just aiming will allow you to know if they're still alive without having to waste a bullet. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it takes away that risk of wasting a precious resource and alleviates that uncertainty that should be present in this type of game. And on top of that, the walking speed is slow enough that it doesn't seem to make a difference. Maybe there's more use for it in the full game though, we'll just have to see. These are just a few minor nitpicks and by no means ruin the experience. The auto-aim isn't a real problem, just a part of its different design, and I wouldn't expect a change in that regard before the full game releases. However, I stand by punching up the sound when interacting with enemies. But when everything else in the demo is this promising, you really can't sweat all the small things. True care, truth brings. I'll take one lift. Your ride, best trip. Always, I know, you'll be at my show. Watching, waiting, commiserating. Say it ain't so, I will not go. Turn the lights off, carry me home. Na-na, 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 na-na,